Trey Murphy season recap. Make sure you smash that like button. Let's do it.
First took away. Yes, with this. Get your money's worth now.
Presented to you by the Birdsall Lawfirm, the official injury lawyers of Pro Pels Talk Located, 19 Poydras Street by the Superdome. Give them a call at 504-523-5413 if you're someone who has been involved in an accident. The Birdsall Lawfirm, the official injury lawyers of Pro Pels Talk. 5, Lido, Chaz, and Ross tonight. We're simply talking all Trey Murphy. Hope all is well. 5, we'll start with you first. So we're going to get through some stats with Trey Murphy, where he improved, where he didn't improve, what he needs to get better at. But first and foremost, I wanted to go back to last year, right? And or over the summer. Was training all over the world, was getting in a lot of work, especially with his dad. His dad was traveling with him. Then obviously tears his meniscus, comes back, whatever it was, late November, and struggled early on. And I felt like it's hard to come back from a knee injury. And I think Trey even said, this is the first time he's actually ever been hurt. So getting over that mental hurdle, did you think that kind of made him struggle early on to get over that mental hurdle, to kind of trust his knee and trust, get back in a rhythm and trust his game again?
Hell yeah. I mean, Lito's had a ton of injuries. He talked about this a bunch. It's not necessarily I had the Achilles, but he's talked about the knee in particular. I think eventually you got back to dunking. It's a process to get to that point, right? And we just talking about on a human level. We talking about hooping at the rec. He's hooping in the NBA, right? And he has a looming contract. So it's not you could say you could say the injury had an impact, but severely had an impact, a mental hurdle for him to proverbial leap over. But that's just the basketball game that he's playing right now, right? You knew Trey was due for a big season. Everybody projected it, we all thought it, and then the knee injury happens, and now he's trying to get back to that point. And I think he did a really good job. I think Chaz was the main one saying you couldn't judge him until post All-Star break. That was a time period for Trey that we were going to be okay, is he better than he was? They just gave him some leeway. But yeah, man, that was a big part of it for sure.
And Chaz, in his last 10 games, regular season games, Trey Murphy, 16.7 points per game, 41.5% from deep on 7 attempts, 6.2 rebounds. He started to get in a groove there late in the year, especially with Zion Williamson. Is that the guy that we can kind of count on moving forward? Do you think that the Zion Trey Murphy tandem is something that the Pelicans can move forward with?
If that's the tandem, if you throw Brandon into the equation, absolutely not. I think you might as well trade Trey, honestly, if Brandon said that's just because you're talking about a guy who you've seen, he needs a lot of runway to be the most effective. He needs to be putting up a lot of shots, getting into his game, getting into his rhythm. And I think he took a little over 8. No, I'm sorry. We took 10 shots this season. Nah, it needs to be around 15. You know what I'm saying? Then you need to just start seeing that output more and more. Overall, it depends, man. Because I said this in the off season. If Willie Green here and Brandon here, none of this matters. I know we'll talk about Willie Green another time, but Trey needs to be made a point of emphasis by this coaching staff as much as Zion. You know what I'm saying? Talking about a guy who has an elite scale. Even, the crazy threes he takes from beyond, 36 feet. We're not in love with. He shoot, but beyond 34 feet that we're not in love with. He's shooting 35% on the season with that. You know what I'm saying? And that's a crazy shot to take. And he's shooting 35% of the season with that. You know what I'm saying? It's just just need to maximize your upper echelon talent players. It's a guy, he got a lot of room to grow with his handle. You saw his rebounding ability. You saw his defense become solid at a certain point in the season. Still got a frame that can fill out and get a lot stronger. You got positional versatility. I just think that's a guy you really need to the offense really needs to make a point of emphasis moving forward if they want this team to be successful in the long term.
And Lito, to Chaz's point, one of the things that Trey did improve on was weak side help and closeouts. And I have a clip here I'm gonna play for you, but it's basically him tagging Anthony Davis and recovering and blocking a shot from the corner. And I thought this was actually pretty impressive. So we'll play it here. If I can get it going. Is it? There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to. Damn it. Hold up. Let me get it again. There we go. So comes over, takes AD, rotates back, blocks it.
Yeah.
Did you see more of an improvement defensively there from Trey Murphy later on in the year?
I definitely saw an improvement in blocks. I think over the last 3 months of the season, he averaged like a block and a half. To end the year, you saw. I mean, if we talking defense, rebounding is included in defense, and over, I want to say he had 3 specific games that stood out for me, rebounding wise. The last game of the season, obviously the Pelicans got swept, but Trey had 11. He had 11 rebounds in Game 4, along with 2 blocks and a steal. And he also had a game. I don't remember what the date is, but he had a game against Milwaukee where he had 11 rebounds, and that was. It's not gonna show up on a box score because I think he had 15 points, but it wasn't like a outstanding game on a box score. But the 11 rebounds against, you know who's on that team, Giannis and Brooke, Portis, right? That's substantial that's substantial in the production of a player and what this team would need if you decide, to go small ball, trade center, to space the floor for Zion, like you were asking about the 2-man game. And to Chaz's point, I know you asked me about defense, but to Chaz's point, man, yeah, he's a guy you got to get involved because I think the March 5th game against Toronto, he shot 14 threes. He made 10 of them. You might want to keep giving that guy the ball.
Yeah, and we're going to talk starter versus off the bench with Ross. Pels were 7-3 in games where Trey had 8 or more rebounds. That's not including the postseason, but they were 7-3 when he had 8 or more rebounds. Is that something that you saw an improvement on with Trey later on this year?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, rebounding, he didn't seem to there were still some lapses defensively. But I thought just in terms of being engaged and not missing as many assignments, rotating quicker, and just being more aware generally defensively was the big step. But his rebounding makes a huge difference. I mean, Lito just talked about it, and so did Chaz. Positional versatility. If you're ever gonna we've talked about this whole small ball thing. If you're ever gonna lean into that in some form or fashion, like Trey's going to be one of the players on the floor that's going to be relied upon to rebound the basketball. So I thought he took, at least from those two regards, some positive steps this year. I mean, the low hanging fruit is you just got to tighten up his handle. Would love to see him get to the free throw line more. That's
literally had that in my notes. The 2 talking points that he's got to get better at is handle, free throw attempts. We're getting that, but
that's called a segue.
Yeah, it is called a segue. I was going to throw it to Jarrett because I think Chaz brings up a good point about leaning into Trey Murphy, and I want to hear Five's points. I actually have the whole panel because as a starter this year, was that crazy? It was crazy.
It's been a long season.
It's been a long year, man. Okay, it's been a long day. Jarrett, as a starter, 23 games this year, averaged 16.3 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, shot 40% from deep on 8 attempts. From the bench, 13.6 points per game, 4 rebounds, 37.37 on 7 attempts. Is it time for him to just start moving forward? Is this time?
Hell yeah. I mean, I think it was time for him to start maybe last year. I mean, prior to this year, right? I thought going into the season, Trey Murphy should have been a starter. You look at it, he I think he played like 57 games, 35 wins, 22 losses. My only, I guess Ross kind of implemented this, like the low hanging fruit is he has one double this season. Like Trey Murphy should have more than one double in the season. I think the last, let's say post All-Star break, there was a real emphasis on getting more rebounds. I think that if he would have did that to start the season, he would have started early. Of course, right? He had the injury, but if he rebounds better, I think that gives him a better chance to start or play more. I think we talked about this when Brandon got injured and you saw the minutes for Trey Murphy creep up. He played better. Like the idea of him just playing freely allowed him to play better. Yeah, time on task. A guy that isn't good at defense got better at defense because what? He played. Trey Murphy's ability to play through mistakes, right? Like you have to allow a guy to fail. And I think this is where I think the Pelicans did a horrible job because like you wanted him to fail on the rookie deal. Like you needed him to fail and get through it on the rookie deal rather than pay him. And now he's gonna fail. Like let's not like fail, but like coming up season, he's gonna have a point in time where they're keying in on him. Like the other defense know like they're trying to close out on him, and he's gonna have a time period where he's gonna struggle a little bit. You just wish that would have happened this year or a previous season, which again I'll be okay with, but to the masses, it's gonna be like some Brandon versus Trey moment. I'm like, it's not necessarily fair. Like you got to give this guy a chance to fail and kind of recover from it.
Chaz, do you think Trey is a better player as a starter than coming off the bench? Like just as a mindset, is he just automatically just a better player as a starter than coming off the bench? Or do you think it matters?
I think he should be starting. I don't think he's necessarily better. I just think you have more runway typically when you're starting. You have a role. You're playing with other guys who maximize your talents. Like for the majority of the year, Trey was subbing out for Zion. When that's the tandem that you need to get, when those two are that's the duo you need to get the most data on possible. And we've already seen the two-man game, like what was it, Trey's debut game versus San Antonio, and the chemistry him and Zion had, the chemistry him and Hawkins, Zion and Hawkins has. It's just a natural fit. I think the coaching staff just went against that for whatever reason this season. I think Trey should have been starting from the beginning. I do think the injury, in fairness, the injury, played a big role in him not starting. I do think it might have been a conversation, with the staff going into this season, but we typically know how those conversations go, right? Ultimately, I just think there's no excuse for him not to start moving forward, because does Trey have some things that he needs to improve on? Absolutely. But to me, this season, he hasn't been a person who's a part of the problem. You know what I'm saying? Offensively, it's meaning CJ hasn't been a guy who's been a part of the problem offensively. Herb, 40% shooter this year, even knocked down 4 threes in a single game in the playoffs, hasn't been a part of the problem for the starting offense this season. It all boils back to one person. And I think you're not telling CJ to come off the bench unless you get.
You don't think that's a possibility at all? You don't think that's a possibility at all?
Honestly, I think for a team that's not contending, it's insulting. For a team like the Pelicans aren't a contending team, and if you don't replace CJ with a player who's significantly better, or at least at his standard, it's insulting. Because CJ is giving you everything. The role CJ played this year is the role for him. He's giving you everything you need. He's just a 3-point specialist at this stage. You can get into the teeth of the defense occasionally, but that's not something you necessarily are asking of him. You want CJ to do exactly what he did this year: be a professional, lead, be the man in the community. Shout out to CJ for all his community efforts also. And shoot threes. And he's done it. He's broke several records on this team in consecutive years from beyond the arc. I think both against the 76ers, if I'm not mistaken. So Trey not starting, to me, you don't pay about somebody between 20 and 30 million to come off the bench unless they're already a most improved candidate or a veteran going into their twilight years, like a CJ or somebody like that. You don't pay a person max money or close to max money to come off the bench unless they're already a proven commodity. You're paying Trey Murphy to be a starter, and anything else would be asinine, in my opinion.
So, Lito, if they do somehow run this back, just say that the same. Well, I guess JV wouldn't come back, but that wouldn't affect Trey Murphy. How could he possibly? How could he possibly start? Would you bench Herb? Because Chaz says you ain't benching CJ, and you're definitely not gonna bench Brandon or Zion. So how would Trey start?
I mean, realistically, if you watch this team, you know the person in the starting lineup that don't need to be there.
Who is it?
I think it's Brandon. But also if you're moving off of, I don't know what they gonna do with Jonas, because I said last year we said Jonas wasn't coming back, and they didn't do anything. But in this equation, there is no Brandon in the lineup, so Trey would essentially absorb Brandon's minutes. You get Zion with Trey, with Herb, with CJ, who, like, to Chaz's point, to Herb's credit, shot 40% from three. So, you know what I'm saying? It's not like he's gonna be out there with a lot with non-shooters. And then Justin, I know you're asking me a question, but why can't the Pelican, like, what is the problem with playing your rotational guys, or like getting into a rhythm and developing players at the same time? Why can't we do both of them? Like, why are we essentially we still kind of treating Trey like a rookie? Like, I don't know what he can do because I just haven't seen it in, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Because Jared said it, I think, on the last podcast, they're so short-sighted. Like, they don't think of the future. They just think of just now and like what's going on. They never think a step ahead. And they're doing the same thing they would Trey Murphy with Jordan Hawkins. I'm not saying Jordan Hawkins is going to freaking be the reason why you beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. But Lito, you said it literally after the All-Star break. You're going to need this guy. You're going to need Jordan Hawkins. And these guys couldn't find 7 to 10 minutes a night because they had to play Jose Alvarado, and they had to play Najee Marshall, and they had to play Dyson Daniels, whatever it may be. And you couldn't find 7 to 10 minutes for Jordan Hawkins, and it screwed you eventually. And because they're so short-sighted. That's the honest answer. They're short-sighted.
No, I mean, I agree. You watch J-Dub, you watching J-Dub and Chet right now, right? And I know people are gonna say Chet is whatever, and J-Dub is whatever, but like,
Talk about Wallace.
Jason Wallace.
Jason Wallace.
Yeah,
like,
man. Like, what's McBride for the Knicks? Like, you
who's
got
the dude for the Pacers? I always forget the dude's name. For the Pacers. Neimark. Yeah, like,
you got guys who, bro, like, Trey has the ability to he's not gonna be a superstar, no, but he could be a special player. He could He could probably make a couple all-star teams. He could be a shooting champion. He shot 71% from three in a game when he got the looks.
But he got the looks off of a guy that he should be playing with.
The Pelicans got to double down. They got to lean. Well, that was crazy. The Pelicans got to they got to find a way. Like, this shouldn't be tough. We shouldn't even be frustrated discussing this. You see what works. You have the data, right? You're an analytical organization. Griff talked about cohesion, and he used these big words in his exit interview that we broke down the other day. That, like, I really don't see how you're seeing this and you're not doing anything about it. That's being naive.
Yeah. Ross, if there's one thing that Trey, we'll go Ross, Jarrett, and Chaz. If there's one thing you had to pick for Trey to improve on the offseason, what would it be?
Probably. I mean, it's his handle, but like that's like the short answer, because it's not like, I don't think he's 6'10", 6'11", or whatever. Like, he's never gonna have some ridiculous handle. And so I what I'm saying, improve it, I mean functionally, like within his role, right? He's still gonna mostly play on the perimeter. He's still mostly gonna need to be able to attack closeouts. And so I guess that's what I mean, is like, I need it. What I hope he would work on is just becoming more efficient and cleaning up his handle in those very specific instances. Like, Trey's never, I won't say never, but like, he's not going to be asked to initiate the offense. He's not going to be asked to bring the ball up the court against pressure. Like, that's just not where he's at. And so for me, it's about finding a way within whatever his role is in the offense to get to the line more, get himself more dunks. Like, it can't, because he's too athletic. And in certain situations, the guy guarding him is too little to just always be held out on the perimeter. I think he can do more, whether that's being a screener and getting a little better on the roll, 2 dribbles, making a play in the paint, whether that's just strictly attacking closeouts, whether that's coming off screens. Like, I still think he could do a lot more in terms of moving off the ball, becoming a little bit more of, not so much of a set shooter. I think he was obviously great in transition in terms of getting his feet set, no matter where he is. But I think there's more he can do on offense to just add a layer to his game.
Yeah. Jarrett, what's one thing that Trey could improve on in the offseason?
Let me not say, answer that question directly. I'll say he doesn't need to do any more individual work. I don't want to see another video of Trey doing Chris Brickley work. Like, he can do it, of course. I want to see him hooping against the guys. I want to see him hooping against the KDs, the Devin Bookers, the Russell Westbrooks, the James Hardens, and bring Zion as with you. Like, I want to see that, because that's the only way you're gonna really get better. Because to be honest with you, your coach not gonna really help you get smarter. Like, it's gonna be up to you to kind of be smarter than, or raise the ceiling of your team. And the only way for you to do that is to play high level basketball outside of your building, because you're not going to get that on a day-to-day basis. So find the guys are going to be playing in Paris, so probably not that level, but find the B level squad. Like, find whatever run you can, go to LA, go to Miami, go to New York, do it all. Bring Zion as with you, bring Jordan Hawkins with you, and y'all got y'all squad, and just try to figure out how y'all can hoop together. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I agree. That's a different way of of saying what I said. I mean, it's functional basketball skills. Like, I guess I wasn't saying that he needs to go practice dribbling. That's kind of what the point I was trying to get across. It was, Five just said it much cleaner than I did. But I agree. It's basketball skill, not dribbling, through cones.
What's funny, Chaz, is I feel like this team, the players on this team never do what Jarrett and Ross are talking about. Actually playing basketball in the offseason. You see Brandon Ingram do his individual workouts. You never really see Zion. You see Trey do the individual workouts. Is this the summer where these guys can just go play basketball? Those 5-on-5 runs they have in New York City and LeBron James and all that stuff. Is this the year they finally do it or no?
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, because I would hope the guys who kind of have a relationship would do it, like the Trey, Zion, and Hawkins. Like Five said, to me, if some people were going to do it, it would be, either a group of people with BI or a group of people with Zion. Zion, he's real private about what he does. I'm not necessarily sure what it is he does, but whatever he did, it got him to play 70 fucking games. So just, what I'm saying, do that again. Do that again. You know what I'm saying? Let's kick it up to 90 next year or whatever. But but aside from that, it's Trey. I would just like to see Trey get stronger and work on attacking closeouts. So, because I think Trey, I've seen him get to the rim, but he doesn't really have the physical strength just yet to finish in a finesse way. It's either a dunk or nothing right now. And I think once he kind of gets his balance a little bit, gets more strength, and keeps attacking those closeouts, then he gonna do his thing, man. I think he's gonna do his thing. I think the trajectory is up, but to me, again, it's all for naught if he's not getting, the Lions' share of, looks this regular season from, beyond the arc. And I really don't see the point in not that I'm just bringing this guy up because his name was mentioned. It could be anybody. Like if 33s were taken in a single game and Jose took 10 of them, I'm gonna be upset. I'm gonna be upset. I need shit. 33s get taken in the game. I want Trey to have shot 12 of them motherfuckers. Like, you know what I'm saying? It needs to be a clear, defined hierarchy and position moving forward. And I think Trey has to be in the top 3 or 4 in that hierarchy, depending upon who you bring in this offseason.
So, Chaz, when you talk about runway, right? During that West Coast trip, I'm just pulling up the stats right now. He played 39 minutes, 38 minutes, 45 minutes, 42 minutes in that when they went 4-0 on that West Coast trip. He averaged 23 and a half points per game and shot, let's see, 8. Shot 20 of 41 from deep, so a little bit less than 50%. So when you say runway, is that what you mean?
I mean that, and I just mean, I be trying to just not go here with it. You gotta get Brandon off the team, dog. Like, because nothing else matters. At the end of the day, if we making it, making it plain, like Malcolm X would say, nothing else matters. Ultimately, nothing else matters. They play the same position essentially. They just kind of do different things at the same spot. Trey has to be your mainstay on the perimeter. He's a perimeter player that actually plays along the perimeter. He's a guy who stretches the floor effectively. The more shots he puts up, the more comfortable he gets, the more efficient he's going to be. He can close out, get to the rim, dunk, finish. He tries to finish violently at the rim. You know what I'm saying? He's not afraid to shoot the ball. He's not lacking in confidence. He needs to be playing. The more confidence he gets on offense, the more confidence he's going to get on defense, the more synergy and chemistry he's going to build with his teammates. He can't do that with this big fucking albatross and Brandon Ingram on the runway holding up traffic. Can't do that. Like sometimes when it rains and you get stuck on the fucking tarmac, that's what happens with Brandon. And when there's rain, there's thunder. And when there's thunder, there's lightning. Get this guy out of here. Get this guy the fuck out of here, man.
Lito, one of the things that that was great, Chaz. One of the things that Jared kind of mentioned it, or maybe it was Ross. I don't know, one of those two. The off-ball movement. I thought he got a little bit better as the season went on. Now we talk about Jordan Hawkins' off-ball movement. That is elite. Do you think Trey Murphy can kind of steal that from Jordan Hawkins' game a little bit and learn to, lift and fade and come off double staggers ready to shoot and like if Zion's driving right, well, I'm going to creep back to the corner, or if Zion's driving baseline, I'm going to fill that slot. Like, I think that's one thing that and Trey did it a couple times. There were a couple clips I had on social media that I was looking back at today where he was lifting from corner to slot or sliding from slot to corner and getting wide open looks. I think if he can master that, moving forward, it makes him really unguardable, and it makes even Zion Williamson's life a lot easier as well.
Let me answer Chris's question first. Wherever Brandon's gonna be, he's still gonna be the scapegoat. He could be in Philadelphia, and I'm gonna still blame him for the Pelicans' woes. Justin, towards the end of the season, the last maybe 2 months, you started seeing more of that from Trey, and I think he has started stealing some of Hawks' ability to move around the perimeter. I mean, realistically, there's nothing to steal. Like, you free to do it. People just don't do it. Like, it's nothing. It's no secret that, like.
But no one has ever done it like Hawkins had. Like, I can't remember someone that's moved like Hawkins has.
Coming from a professional system, though, Justin.
Exactly. No, I know. Chaz, I know.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
but not even college though. Even high school, like he prep school, like he's been a professional. Like, this is not, you know what I'm saying? This is not nothing new. But Justin, I'm a little bit offended. You ain't asked me what Trey could do better. Like, I kind of feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, you ain't even asked me that question.
Well,
I got thoughts too.
Yeah, go ahead. You're right. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's all right, man. It's all right. I forgive you already. Check this out.
Thank you, bro.
It's not. I respect everything everybody said. And respectfully, let me just say this in regards to Hawk. Hawk is already gonna be playing with them dudes. Like he already gonna be hooping with them. So I don't even know. Like Trey probably gonna be out there. Zion not gonna do it. It just is what it is. I think Trey, with regards to what everybody else has said that I agree with, I'm not going to belabor that point again. Trey, in my opinion, has to develop this thing called fuck it. I know what Willie said, but fuck it. I'm gonna do this other thing because I see what's going on the floor, and you know because he's a bro. People just don't get it. They don't get accepted to Rice University if you're not like an intelligent guy. Like that's not a school you're gonna go to in you know what I'm saying? Like you just gonna go there to play basketball. He a thinker. And I think that may bother some people in the franchise because of his ability to think, to speak. You see him already on the media circuit, but he gotta develop fuck it. That's gotta be the number one thing for me this offseason. And to Chaz's point, I want Trey to understand that if it's not a three or if it's not a dunk, he can still score the basketball. If you look at his shot chart, right?
Wow.
If you look at his shot chart, you see pretty much everything has been a layup or a three. Like there's room for you to take these shots. And don't take them. I don't mean to diss Brandon when I say this, but don't take the difficult. You don't have to take the difficult tools. Like, I don't want people to think that twos are a bad shot. The midi is not a bad shot. It's a good shot. If you look at Jamal Murray, it's been a game-winning shot, right? You just have to be. I mean, he's a merchant. He's a merchant with it. Like, fuck, Kyrie. Bro, Kyrie shoots so many mid-range jumpers, and he does them in a very effective way. I think if he adds this to his game, it could literally it could propel his scoring, because if you can't hit a three, right? You start the game off with a three. The midi's right there. You're 6'10". You're shooting over everybody anyway.
You know and you mentioned Kyrie, SGA, even Luka. What's great is man, appreciate you, Joe. It's good stuff right there.
Wow.
He a fan.
There, because you say you don't want to offend Brandon, but like Brandon takes his mids are always usually contested. Like they'll pump fake and just go right into one dribble pull up, and it's just like a little 15-foot layup with nobody in front of them. And I think that if Trey does it, I saw Trey do it a couple times this year, but if he does that more consistently, like I completely agree with that. One more thing, Jared, I think we need to talk about with Trey that Ross had mentioned is free throw attempts. If you're that good, he's an elite free throw shooter. I know he struggled earlier on this year, but he's a guy that's going to shoot 86 to 90% every single year when he's not coming off injury, things of that nature, especially for a shooter, Jarrett, that just say you're struggling, you can't find rhythm. The best way to find your rhythm is to get to the free throw line. And I feel like if Trey has that mentality of attacking the rim, attacking with force, trying to create contact of that and getting to the free throw line 6 or 8 times a night, he can start creeping up to that 20, 22 point range of just simple points. Like these are things that he can really grow into, and that's just only going to help his points per game rise as well. How
can he? You know why? I'm gonna say I know he can get to the free throw line, but if the offense isn't ran for him to get downhill, how can he do that? Right? Like we talked about, I think Chaz brought up the 35 footers. Those are all byproducts of the inept coaching that he's received. Like the only reason he shoots those because they don't run anything for him. So it's just become a part of his game because he has to create space somehow. And it's kind of like a set shot, right? Like it's not like a fluid. He's not shooting 35 footers off the dribble. They're all catch and shoots. But again, he would get to the free throw line, but half the time, like he doesn't get his first shot. He'll play 10 minutes and won't get the rock. Like we sit back and we analyze this, but like we got to really look into like Well, how is he going to even do this? How can he get a rhythm? He's not getting the ball until, Brandon decides to pass it to him or Zion decides to pass it to him off of broken play. There's nothing ran for him, right? There's no swing for him. There's no action ran for him. He's not the 1A option, right? Like, he's just the byproduct. He's just like a guy out there just, hey, wait to shoot. If they throw it to you, this is your time to shoot. So, like, we got to start really. Go ahead.
Because you bring up a great point that I had to go look up the box score, but people forget game 1, Trey Murphy didn't get another shot for the last 8 minutes. And he was 8 of 18 from the field, 5-12 from deep, had 21 points, 41% from deep, and didn't get a shot in the last 8 minutes of the game because of exactly your point. They didn't run anything from him in the regular season, so you can't anticipate them running a set for him in the postseason.
We talk about the 2-for-1, right? That he knocks down, like I think it's at the end of the third quarter, right? If I'm not mistaken, they're making a run. He knocks down like a huge 2-for-1 3. Like it's from
in game 1.
No, it was in the Smoothie King Center. So it
game
had to
4.
be game 3. Was it game 4?
Yeah, game 3 was a joke. It was game 4.
All right, game 4, right? They're making they're making a comeback, right? And he knocks down like this huge, but he had to. Like, that's the only way he was going to get that shot. They're not necessarily looking for him. Fuck, he had to pull. And he has to do that so much. And that's why I kind of go against what Lito says. Like, he had to say fuck it so much. Like, that's his fuck it shot, right? Like, pause. Like, he gotta shoot that shit just to get a jumper off. Just to get it. Like, he's your best shooter, and he has to do that.
Yeah. Let's go last topic, Chaz. So what does the contract situation look like for Trey Murphy? And do they extend him this offseason?
Well, depends. That seemed like a guy who kind of knew his worth in that exit interview. Man, I think there's a solid chance he's not on the team next year.
Really?
I think there is a solid chance. Because again, that's I think a lot of it is going to have to do with team construction and roles. And I think he strikes me as a person who, and I don't know him, but he strikes me as a person like, look, it's time to start. Like, it's time to stop playing these games. You already cost me a little money at this point. You know what I'm saying? So I think at minimum, he talking about, if he takes 5 years at maybe starting at 25 a year, he might give you a cool discount. You start at 23 a year, and then it just jumps. But he don't have to though. That's the thing. That's the crazy. He don't have to because he's young. He's a coveted player. Like I said before, he's probably has the most trade value on the team, just based on not even the player he is right now, the player he's projected to be. 6'10", wing, already a 40% career shooter, only getting better. And everyone knows this team's coaching staff is a joke. And Shams just put it out publicly that the players think the team's coaching staff is a joke after I put it out. So, Shams, grabbing Superman's cape here. But all that being said, though, I think 5 starting at 25 a year.
25 a year. Ross, and then Lito, are y'all comfortable paying Trey that?
You ain't got a choice. I mean, yeah, I am comfortable paying
got a choice.
You don't. You don't. At worst, he would test restricted free agency, and you would have to match any deal, unless you go Chaz's route, I guess, and trade him or something. But no, yeah, I'm comfortable with it. I think I saw him get significantly better as the season progressed. And then not only did he get healthier, but I saw him add things to his game. And so it really comes down to opportunity. Because I really, in March, that however many games he started in March and early April, like I saw a difference maker. So I'm definitely comfortable giving him whatever Vassell got last year. I don't know, 5 years, 130 or something like that. That's probably what it's going to be, somewhere between 115 and 130. And that's just the going rate. But the bigger conversation is what happens with the rest of the roster, right? And if it stays the same, does somebody go to the bench for Trey? I think there's probably a bigger conversation to be had there. And even if you trade Brandon, like, does that guarantee that Trey becomes a starter? I think it's like there's a larger conversation we could have there. I see you scratching your head, but like, I think Trey would become the starter, but I don't know what that trade would be like either. So, trying to predict what this coaching staff will do. Good luck with that.
Lito, go ahead.
I'm with Ross. I don't really think you have a choice. You don't really have a say in the matter. You don't pay him, and then what? Like, what do you do then? You know what I'm saying?
But if you pay Trey, then
go ahead.
But if you pay Trey, then someone's got to go, right?
Dog. Like,
Brandon falls off the books next year. Like their money would never overlap.
That's right.
If you keep Brandon, I'm presuming you're extending them at this point. If you keep him, you're not gonna let him. I don't think they're just gonna let him walk. I wouldn't give a fuck what they do, honestly. But as long as he ain't off the team. But yeah, I don't. Go ahead, Leo.
Nah, I agree with you. I think look, bro. We know the answer to the question. You know who gotta go. Like we don't have to keep you. They're interchangeable to me. Shout out my dog Spen Griffey, man. He told me a year ago that Trey could do everything that Brandon could do. And while I still don't agree in that, because of I think Brandon is still a way better playmaker than Trey. But I will say this: Trey has not had the time on the court or the ball in his hands to even be able to have that kind of expertise in that category. So I think, look, don't kid yourself. Your eyes showed you what wasn't working. Again, the data is there. I just put Brandon's playoff stats in the chat.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Do y'all think that Trey? Let's just assume everything else is the same. Okay, just assume we bring JV back on a 1 year, just for hypothetical.
Okay.
All right, and Brandon's gone, Trey's in. Pretty much the rest of the roster looks the same. Do you think it amounts to anything different in the playoffs? Not a leading question. I'm just asking. Like, it's just same exact group we have right now, except basically Trey takes Brandon's money, everything else the same. Does the ceiling get higher?
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah. Because you maximize Zion.
I think it gets high, but I also think, I gotta take into account what they brought back for Brandon, because even if you just replace Brandon with Trey, it's still not like a 1-for-1 thing, because you lose Trey's contributions right off the second unit. But I just think that starting unit, I think they're a lot more competitive with upper echelon.
You see, Chaz, you see what the Knicks are doing? Knicks, like Trey was playing 40-something plus minutes a night. They were winning on the West Coast. They were 4-0. He was getting major starter minutes. Like he was a winning player. It was a different team when Trey Murphy and Zion Williamson were on the court together with CJ McCollum. It was a completely different team. Ball moved. They played with pace. They got a bunch of threes. Like, am I saying they're going to win a championship with that roster? No. Am I saying they even beat the Thunder in that series? No. I think it's more competitive for sure.
I think they at least won a game or two.
Oh, they'd win two. They would have won game one. They would have won game four. They would have.
The Knicks comparison is an interesting one. I mean, obviously those two teams aren't the same, but boy, the Knicks look different when they got a Brandon Ingram type player out of that starting lineup.
Yeah,
and Julius Randle, and replaced him with Anunoby or technically Josh Hart. So you took a
bro, Ross. It's so funny because I'm watching them play yesterday, and I'm thinking to myself like, bro, how could you even bring Julius Randle back?
I think they pissed off at Julius Randle. I ain't gonna lie. Everything I was like, nah. I think Julius Randle, he getting traded somewhere, boy. It's been such a coach's relationship since he's gotten there, and I like Julius Randle, but man, they think this. I don't know. It depends on who you listen to, this is a funny
Yeah.
injury that he got. Like that's
So-
you know.
Yeah. So we'll go about 5-10 more minutes. So we'll go with some super chats and questions. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you smash that like button. Over 100 people in here. Appreciate all the support. Authentic do. So I see we'll go with Jarrett first. I see Trey as a star role player unless his handle and shot creation really improves.
All you need.
Yeah, man. Like there's we talk. I mean, you put superstar in the title. There's really like what 10 superstars in the league, right? Like
If that, yeah.
and if that and Zion is your budding one, right? And I don't think Zion is like reach superstar level. Like Trey could make an all-star team. He may make 2 if Zion and him play well enough, right? Like you could see him making an all-star team. But yeah, the handle, the shot creation, I just think he needs to be more competent, right? Like if you give him the ball late in the game, can you make a play? Right? I don't need you to do this for, 48 minutes. No, but like if the sets were ran and you guys ran it enough where like, all right, this is my bread and butter pick and roll Zion or Spain pick and roll between CJ, Zion, and Trey, and like just being able to play basketball with your mind at, opportune times. I think that's the biggest key. And I think it all goes back to coaching. That's the real true problem for me. It's not necessarily Brandon. It's not necessarily Trey. It's not really the roster for me. It all goes back to how you use said roster. And they do a very, very poor job, in my opinion. I don't give a fuck if you won 49 games. I don't.
Very poor. Chaz, interesting question from Rachel. Is there anyone that y'all would be willing to trade Trey for?
Sure. I don't believe in untradeable players. If they call today and say, yo, we want Zion and Trey for Ant Edwards, I'm like, all right, y'all. I'm a root for y'all in Minnesota. Like, they still gonna have my support, but like it's no such thing as an untradeable player to me. Like, I know people kind of getting their feelings a bit about the Herb thing, but it's like, yeah, Herb, cool. I didn't play Monopoly Go with Herb. You know what I'm saying? We cool. I ain't play Pity Pat with Herb. We all right, but Herb can Herb he's available. Like, you know what I'm saying? He for the right price, he could be yours. Pause. So nobody untradeable to me.
Interesting. Like, I guess Ross, who I had to talk about this, but like, who would you trade Trey for? I know I'm putting you on the spot. You probably haven't thought any time to think about it, but
I mean, I'm with Chaz. I mean, I like a lot of people. If we're being like totally honest, like it's nothing against Trey, but like would you take Bridges?
Michael?
Yeah.
no.
That I would. It to me, it would have to be like the.
Tell me why you wouldn't.
Michael, because I felt like Michael, he's on a great contract, but I feel like Michael here, I would be asking him to do pretty much what Trey can do. So I wouldn't need Michael to score 40 points. You know what I'm saying? I would just need Michael to be a 3-and-D guy. I wouldn't really need Michael to create. You know what I'm saying? Like his role would be so reduced here that I wouldn't necessarily need him as the second option. I think Michael's an elite third option. Like that's kind of why I got him. And I didn't really think that before he went to Brooklyn and started doing 40-point games and shit. I'm like, that guy, that's an elite third option. But here, because I don't think Zion is an elite number 1 at this stage. I think Zion is still like getting there. So I think you need 2 elite number 2s and a third, and Trey would be my third right now.
Lito,
I trade anybody. I trade anybody. Who's available? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the best offer?
Yeah, it's like if we had time to think about it, just to piggyback on Lito's comment, it's like it's the same thing we said about Herb on the Sunday show, right? Like if there was some deal that you thought was going to make the team drastically better, and they were like, hey, it's got to include Trey though. But
well, yeah, I mean,
it was fun, man. It was cool. Like
Like looking back on it, like would y'all have done the trade for Herb for DeJounte at the trade deadline?
I said that day I would have did that.
I did.
I was like, my
I'd do
only
that trade right
argument
now.
was it shouldn't have had to be her, but but I would probably do it. Like it just depends on what would accompany that trade. Like if you say Herb and for a first, like no, now that's too much. Because to me,
Right.
Herb is worth at least 2 firsts. At least.
Oh yeah.
So
Go ahead.
I
Jared,
don't
go
know.
ahead.
Nah, I would have said no then. I'd probably still say no now. Just for the simple, like it doesn't like I don't think DeJounte like makes me that much better, right? Now, if a motherfucker call me for KD, Book, shit, Cat, like these are
Yes.
Also I'm sitting like, yeah, I'm like that's a no brainer. Like that, those like the DeJounte one is like almost like we gotta talk through this a little bit more than just like it's an absolute. I think that's a little bit more of a conversation that I think that you look at picks, you look at like how we're gonna like move in the future, but this team doesn't more so think that way, so it's kind of hard to judge.
Lito,
This is a tough one.
I
My
was
bad.
just putting that Laurie and Sexton for BI and Trey.
Ugh.
I don't know.
I probably honestly, I'm countering that one. I'm countering. I'm countering that
Countering.
one.
With
Go
what?
I'm countering because I believe Trey is. I think you're still getting the best player in the trade, but I don't think Lowry and Brandon gap is that far apart. And I think Trey is going to be better than Colin. And I like Colin Sexton a lot.
Mhm.
But I'm countering. I'd be like,
I'd have to get Walker Kessler too.
Yeah, I would have to get more. I would have to get more.
What,
I would have to
I'll
get
throw
more.
I'll throw in some picks, and you can give me Walker Kessler too.
what's the name of that
I'll
rookie
go
that they
American way.
drafted? Keontae George?
Yeah, Keontae George.
I love
He a point
Keontae.
guard, I believe, right?
He is a point guard. Hey, could Laurie actually play the 5 though?
No,
Laurie can play the 3, 4, and 5.
So then-
man. For stretches.
Okay, so then if you actually made that trade, that was total hypothetical, but who would your starting center be? Because you ain't
Laurie.
like,
no, you can't. That's
I gotta get Kessler. I gotta get
you're not starting Kessler though. You're not. Oh, I guess you
Why
would.
wouldn't I?
Yeah.
No, you're right. You would start. So your front court would be Zion, Laurie, and Kessler, with Herb and Sexton / CJ.
Let me ask you this question though. In saying that, do you believe that Willie will look at Kessler Walker, a taller version of JV, and say that he would continue to play him for stretches that he wouldn't play JV for? Like you truly believe that he would allow him to
Yeah, I think
be
Kessler's a better
7'4"
defender, huh?
and
You think Kessler's a better defender than JV?
yeah, but at the same time, like teams still gonna pick on it. We still playing drop, right? Like it's not like we playing man in this situation, and Kessler can get the advantage. If you still gonna put that man in drop at 7'2", or however how tall he is, I don't see Willie. I don't know. Like I don't see him playing him for stretches, same way he did with JV.
He probably like your starter in name, or like your starter in like certain matchups. Like if you play like Joel or something like that. Because with Willie and them, they don't typically adjust to what the other team is doing. Like he wouldn't say, "All right, well, fuck it, we just gonna run Joel off the court." He like, I gotta counter him with a big, throw Cody Zeller out there. Like it's just this season we didn't get to see it because we didn't play Joel. Damn, we didn't play Joel at all this season. That's crazy. But we didn't play Joel this season, but I don't know, man. I think about that deal because to me that's not a clear like Booker. That's not and that's something I gotta think about. Even Cat, I kind of gotta think about it. Like I don't know, because
I don't think Trey's too far off from Laurie, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
And that's what I'm at. That's exactly. And he play a more important position.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, nah, I don't know.
The only question is the freedom.
Hold on. Yeah, hello, like Ross, you're making this statement, but it's almost to the Brandon thing, right? Like Brandon is more skilled than Trey, right? Just like Lowry is. But is he as impactful is another thing. Like, yeah, he can hoop, right? We like I think he made his first All-Star team. Most improved, yeah. But is he impactful? Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm trying to think through it right now, but like I just don't know what. I don't know what. I don't know what basketball skill Trey is better at than Lowry.
Take this into account too, Trey. I mean, Ross.
And
Lowry,
better athlete.
Lowry is one of the higher assisted scoring athletes in the league. So he kind of gets his shots almost the same way Trey does. Like it's going to be based on someone else kind of creating for him and him being like an elite finisher. But he also like 7 feet fucking tall. Like he's also like really good. So but I still think the gap just ain't that significant. And to me, and that's my whole issue because the gap just ain't that significant. Whereas with Booker, you're like, all right, that's Booker.
No, and look, and if we were talking about if it was just Trey for Lowry, like probably not. I mean, you're gonna have Trey, like just from a contract perspective, like Lowry's last year of his deal. Trey's gonna sign a long-term extension. Yeah, it would have to. That's why I said I would have to get like other shit. Like first off, you got to take BI, and I got to get a bunch of other shit. Yeah, I wouldn't do, even though I think marketing is today better than Trey. And I don't know if I think it's quite as close as y'all are saying, but either way, I don't think I would trade them. I don't think I would do that right now.
I don't know if we would. I can't speak for Five, but I don't know if I was saying that he's better today. I'm saying that potentially, like with his height, athleticism, skill set, I could see where you could develop into Lowry and or be better. Like to me, his ceiling could be higher. It took Lowry what 6 years to figure it out.
3 teams too.
Had to get the fuck out of Chicago.
And you know what was the thing that really helped him? FIBA. Like when he got the guy, like it took off. His confidence took off. So hopefully we can get Trey in some kind of FIBA-esque where he just hooping against really good talent and he takes off. Man.
I'm hoping FIBA is all it took to get Brandon off the team. Because I'm hoping that shit. I'm hoping that shit. That pendulum is swinging. Like, got one guy found himself, another guy lost himself. Let's get him out.
I don't know if y'all said
Justin. Before we end.
Okay.
Well, I was just going to before we shut it down. I mean, because I think Trey's getting extended no matter what. Getting an extension no matter what.
That was a good
Yeah, if I was on, you could.
He was on the line.
Yeah, I know. But let's just assume Brandon doesn't get. Let's just assume Brandon doesn't get traded this summer. What is the net effect of all of that? Like, because Justin, you and I sat courtside and we watched Trey Murphy, and I know we talked about it a million times.
Is this when you screamed at somebody?
Yeah, I'm about to say you were sitting courtside.
Yeah,
I heard about that.
We watched Trey Murphy's face when he wasn't named a starter after playing incredibly well for those 12
Can y'all describe it? The look?
What's that, Chaz?
Can y'all describe the look? Because we've heard about this.
You just found out you were just with all your partners and somebody told you your old lady been cheating on you for 2 weeks.
Oh, this stuff.
Like somebody took your lunch money and gave you bad news.
Damn. Was it a surprise to him? Shit.
I don't think it was a surprise. I think being on the court at the moment that they were calling him out last was like the culmination of like frustration, annoyed. I think he probably thought he deserved to be, whatever.
Right.
What is the net effect of all of that on Trey mentally? if they just show back up with basically something that looks like the same roster to start next season, and Trey's still sitting over there midway through the bench to start every game.
If I'm Trey Murphy, I have no incentive to sign this contract if I'm not going to be a starter. Because I know if I enter restricted free agency, I might even get more money because I didn't have the greatest year. Like Trey last season, he's probably getting the rookie max. If he had been extended last season, like during that Zion December run, he's getting a rookie max. Yep. This season, if he gets extended right after them 4 games, like you might get the rookie max, but now that they're gonna have time to sit down and think about it, he probably ain't gonna get as much as he could have gotten. And the injury, of course. But if I'm Trey, I ain't got no. I don't have to sign this year. I'm gonna get paid no matter what because of where the cap is heading. Like I need a little bit more. Like even with him saying, like, yo, you know, I ain't all about money. It's like, what else could it be about? Easy, I want to play basketball. Oh yeah, what you mean by that? You know what I'm saying? We all wise guys here. We all made our bones. We don't have to guess what he's talking about. We get it. You know what I'm saying? And he went out of his way to reference, you know, last year was on, you know, we was first in the West. Like, where'd that come from? Like, why'd you say that? You know what I'm saying? So he understands. That dude love Herb. Herb like his brother. You
Yep.
know, he's referred to as his brother. He ain't talking about Herb when he like, yeah, and I'm sure he loves CJ, like CJ, the old head. It gotta be one guy who like, yo, you in my way, brother. And it's just like you gotta go.
What do
Just
you?
went-
He was crazy because he. No, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna ask because I think it's a fair point. Like does Trey sign an extension this summer?
That's what I was
Like
saying.
without the assurance that Chaz is talking about. Like, because I agree. If I'm Trey,
It's no benefit. I don't think it's a benefit to him to do so. I think I'm with Chaz because, like, at the end of the day, like, he's restricted. You're gonna have to match what another team offers.
He wasn't. Oh my gosh, Travis been saying. I know you're in here all the time. I appreciate the comment. He wasn't cooking.
He wasn't. What was he averaging?
He's averaging 16.4 points per game on like 12 shots in the month of April. He wasn't. He was not cooking whatsoever. Like he was shooting 31% from deep.
He might have been cooking. The food just wasn't
Orlando,
good. I cook too. I mean, food's not
he was cooking. He was cooking peg. But ironically, that Orlando game was his best game of his poor run, and that's when he got hurt. Like, yeah, I think he had 14 points when he went down. He just wasn't.
And they stunk against Orlando. Chaz, can you answer this question before we gotta get off? Because we gotta do the Willie Green show. By the way, we're doing another show after this, only pre-recorded. It'll be dropping on Sunday. Make sure you hit the bell notification, and of course, happy Mother's Day to all the beautiful mothers out there. Chaz, can you answer this real quick?
The cutoff point for us, like the date. I'm not sure. I believe it's at some point in July, but I don't think it's gonna be a back and forth type thing. I think if they don't, like, we're not trading Brandon, and we're not giving you enough money to make you comfortable with us not trading Brandon. So what you want to do? Then I think, like, oh, well, fuck you. You can either trade me, or I'm just gonna enter restricted free agency, and I'm gonna go anywhere I want to go. Like, you know.
5 seconds of Lito. Make sure you smash the like button. Go ahead, Lito.
Listen, man, you got to develop players. You got to develop players, man. You got to play them. Like you talk about internal growth, but like, how the fuck are you supposed to grow if you just keep getting buried on the bench? Like, you put a flower in the ground, you don't put no dirt or give it no nutrients. How the fuck is it supposed to grow? What is this? What is gonna happen? You don't water it. You don't do nothing to it. Like this shit just the flower's gonna wither and die. That's all it is. That's literally what you see with this team. You got we look. There's draft picks that we can name. We could go on forever. Nobody was watered. There was no water there. God bless you all. Good night.
Smash the like button.